Hello, this is the Dallara IR18 Indycar. On an oval, this is the fastest and most exhilarating way to go racing on iRacing. Now, this is a great car, but you have to be aware that it has an extremely unusual learning curve. It's a very easy car to learn how to hot lap. There's so much downforce and so much speed that all you need to do is just tell the car where to go and it goes there. All you have to do then is figure out what the fastest line around the track is. You'll very quickly find yourself putting in competitive times and getting yourself up the top of the timesheet. Now, I'd done my research before I started. I knew that this thing called Aero push was a problem and I'd have to manage it, but I was completely unprepared for how differently this car would handle racing in a pack compared to racing alone. To get the best possible results from this car, it's critical to learn how to use the in-car tools, the front and rear ARB, the weight jacker, and the fuel mix. We'll keep this as basic and simple as possible. All you need is either a B-Class Formula or a B-Class Oval licence, and to have done one or two oval races yourself to find out the challenges of running in traffic. The first thing we need to do is switch to the in-car adjustments in the black box. I run with the iOverlay relative up at the top left. This is really important for me because it lets me keep the in-car adjustments page on the black box visible at all times. Right, let's head out on track. Exiting around the apron, we have to go all the way around the inside of turns 1 and 2. Nice and carefully. Really important to let this car rev right out, let the rev lights on the wheel flash blue before we shift. So the first thing you should do at arriving at a new track is just run for 15 laps. They're very short, about 25 seconds, so it won't take long. Figure out what the fastest line is. Figure out what the line is when you want to build an overspeed. The bottom is the fastest way round, so let's practice holding our line in the inside lane. And we can see already that on the default settings I am turning the wheel and the car just isn't turning in. Charlotte's a one-groove track and the fastest way round is up the inside. However, if you want to build that overspeed, you're going to have to take to the outside at some point, so make sure you practice both. Coming through 3 and 4, if I get it even slightly wrong on turn-in, it just washes wide and I have to lift right out of the throttle to avoid the wall. Now, after about 15 laps or so, you'll have an idea of what the default car settings do to the tyres. Now, that's critically important whether you're in a fixed or an open setup series to figure out how you can start making adjustments. Car understeering there again. It's important to get nice and familiar with the track, particularly when, as I've had to do, I've had to turn my settings down in order to run this at a decent frame rate. Lap 13 now, and I am really starting to feel the car just washing tight. I've got so much wheel on it to keep it on the inside line. There you go, lap 14, 15, and we've got almost 90 degrees of lock on. That can't be good. Right, 15 laps over and done with. Time for a top tip. When it's time to end your runs in an IndyCar series, do not stop on track and reset to the pits. Continue round, full racing speed, and do a green flag pit stop. If you do this at the end of every run you do, you will not be scared of having to pit under green. Brakes. Oh, that didn't go so well, but we've got it stopped. Just about. Limiter on. Now, you can use auto limiter in every weekly series, but if you want to do the official series, also pit limiter will be disabled. So I do the pit limiter manually to practice for it. Getting stopped here can not be the easiest thing in the world. Oops. Right, so we've arrived in the pits again. Scroll through to the tyres window. Right, on the tyres section of the black box, we can now see what our tyres were like on the last run. And it's pretty clear. The right front is being absolutely mangled. The right rear is almost completely unharmed. Right, back at the in-car adjustments, the first thing we're going to do is change the ARB. You have two ARB settings, front and rear. Now, as you can see, the default here is 6 and 1. So that's a lot of front ARB and no rear ARB. The way these settings work are like this. high front ARB makes the car tighter in the turns and wears the front right tyre more, whereas high rear ARB wears the rear tyre more and makes the car looser in the turns. Now during that run, the problem we had most of all was the car being tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely reverse it. We're going to go from 6 to 1 to 1 to 6. This is the setting I've run in every race at Charlotte, and it seems to work really well. With those changes to ARB, it is much easier to keep the car pinned to the inside and to make little fine-grained adjustments with the steering wheel to hold the best line. So last time we started finding the car got difficult to drive after about 6 or 7 laps. Let's see if that's going to happen again. Now again, it's crucially important to set these settings for every track you go to. At a completely different track like Auto Club, which wears the rear tyres more, you would want the ARB the other way round. 6 on the front, 1 at the rear, or something like that. That's why it's important to do that first run with the car in its default settings and see how the tyres are wearing. Are they about even, or is it wearing the front or rear more? So, 7-8 laps into the run, it is getting slightly more difficult to hold our line. If we hook our tyres nicely onto the bottom, we're just about able to make it. But there, we're just having to get out the throttle because we're running wide. 10 laps into the stint, the tyres are starting to go off, +5 weight jacker. The weight jacker works similarly but differently to the ARB. A higher number on the weight jacker puts more weight and more wear on the rear tyres. A lower number on the weight jacker puts more wear on the front tyres and makes the car tighter. Don't be afraid to use some pretty extreme weight jacker settings while you figure out what the optimum is. You can see here, weight jacker 10, and I am able to really just cruise round these turns on 14-lap-old tyres with minimal wheel input. Now this is wearing the right rear. We have got all that grip on the right rear that we can use. We want those wear figures to be as equal as possible. So I've finished the 15-lap stint. Time to bring it around for another green flag pit stop attempt. Again, not the best bit of braking, but that's why we practice it. Decided that I would like some more brake bias. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you get your pit exit wrong. So from here, just keep experimenting. Run higher or lower weight jacker at different points. Run higher or lower ARB at different points. See what that does to the tyres. More than with any other car, as soon as you understand what the tyres are going to do and how the car behaves in clean air, you just have to jump into a race. Running this car is a completely different experience once you get up behind someone else and start learning the aero push. There is just no substitute for being in a race and learning on the job. The other thing I will do here is I will start getting used to making adjustments like this on the fly. Which, as you can see, perhaps not so simple. Oops. Now look down at the tyre info. We've gone from having a massive imbalance in front and rear tyre wear to them being about equal. That's exactly what we want to see, and just in time for the race to start. Oh boy, we've got revving engines as we dial in those adjustments again. I'm going to take weight jacker 5, because I think I'm going to be running in traffic for most of this. And the best way of dealing with tyre wear is to prevent it. Top tip during this phase, lap timing screen, bottom right, counter. You will know exactly how long there is left until we can get going. Don't wait till green, don't wait till green, he's going to wait till green. I hate leaders who wait till green. Everyone just stacks up behind them. Still, we're away. We'll drop down onto the inside and try to settle in. Huge crash. No. Yep, he's going to get loose. They're all dead. That's a caution.
5 minutes later.
Right, here we go again. Back into engine map 1. Yes, Sasha, I know what you wanted. Are we going straight back to caution?
Five minutes later.
Right, hopefully we can get some green flag running in. So, aero push. Hey!
5 minutes later.
Christ almighty. Hairy moment. Here's the aero push now. We're gonna have to lift into the corners. That's the key thing. Before you arrive at the turn, a slight lift. You'll find the aero push so much easier to manage. I was not expecting him to wash up like that. He stole my clean air. Yeah, out of the throttle and back into it. Gonna pop it into 6th gear for flexibility. Click a weight jacker for security. Back it up and back on the throttle. Just drops a bit of speed off and reduces the aero push. Now we're up at 0.3 seconds and the aero push is strongest when you're right on someone's gearbox. I think Leopoldo is struggling. I don't really want to be on his inside because I fear he's just going to wash up into me if I try to go around the outside. I think
5 minutes later.
There you go. In not very long at all, we figured out how to back up our corners, minimise the effect of the aero push, preserve your tyres, and also take the opportunity to save some fuel. And by the way, the result of this race was that there were so many cautions that we were able to save so much fuel both in traffic and behind the pace car that we were able to go wire to wire without a pit stop. After the final caution, it was down to me and this gentleman who was also not stopping. We ran side by side for several laps. He was unable to get inside me and take the quickest line, and in the end he couldn't take it anymore, ran into the back of me, knocked his front wing off, and we cruised home to a good victory. Not a bad day's work at all.